these countries are trying to get out from under dollar hegemony, and that's going to happen.
And then there goes the power of the U.S. to impose these sanctions, right?
Correct, because if you, first of all, they're all building alternate payment systems. Even the German foreign minister the other day said Europe needs an alternate payment system. They could do cryptocurrencies. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. I don't like Bitcoin at all. But you could create a new cryptocurrency with a distributed ledger with China and Putin. So imagine a Xi coin and a Putin coin. They could denominate it in SDRs. That's a special drawing right. That's the world money that comes from the IMF. They could back it up with gold. And notice that the dollar is not involved. Everything I just described doesn't involve the dollar. So that's why this could, if the U.S. doesn't reassert dollar hegemony, one good way to do that would be if the U.S. started buying more gold. I don't expect that to happen, but that would be part of my advice. If the U.S. doesn't do that, again, this whole alternate system, it's being created now. This is not science fiction, but it could affect the dollar very, very rapidly.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, we've been talking about this now for quite some time. Eventually, we're going to get back to the gold standard. Either we initiate it, China or Russia are going to initiate it. The first one to do it is the winner of the game. Thanks to the United States' abuse of power when it comes to the SWIFT system and weaponizing it, countries around the world have been creating an alternative money transfer system that takes away the United States' power to put sanctions on people. So we know the media is attacking Putin, trying to make him out to be the bad guy, but this is exactly why they're actually attacking him. Come on now, you guys. We know Biden has got all kinds of special interests over there in the Ukraine. That's why he's even interested in protecting them. Also, the globalist agenda is to try to do something with Putin. He's a pain in the butt. I saw his name on the roster for the Great Reset's global youth leaders. Putin sent one of his representatives over there. I was disappointed when I saw Putin's name because I thought he's really actually fighting this globalist agenda. Later on, when I found out, he sent over one of his own people in his stead to go ahead and take this course. I think what it is, he's just trying to figure out what the real agenda is. So over the past, 13 or so years, 15 or so years, China and Russia have been buying up gobs and gobs and gobs of gold. What gives the United States such a powerful dollar is the fact that it's used as the world reserve dollar. But if it loses its status as a reserve dollar, you're probably looking at anywhere between 40 to 60% crash in value. I think sometime in 2020, they were talking about doing this. We were anticipating that this was going to happen, and then gold and silver prices would shoot up. As a matter of fact, at the same time this was supposed to happen, going to the gold standard, we heard they were going to remove the US dollar as a reserve dollar. Oh yeah, you wanted to be holding on to gold or silver at the time. It's better late than never. Anyways, if you've been listening to my channel since then hopefully you've been stacking up on as much gold and silver as possible. There's a good reason why the United States, for sure, over here wants to panic. No, Putin is not the boogeyman. So anyways, guess what? Not chicken, but stop. Let's talk about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. Oh, good Lord. If you have not bought gold and silver by now, I don't know what you're waiting for. You know, there's no doubt that the price of gold and silver is going to start taking off. Just look at it this way. All those years of people saying that this is about to happen, that should have been your time to be storing up on it so you can have a really nice stack of both gold and silver to fight your way through what's about to come. Anyways, when you go to buy your gold and silver or any other precious metal, please give a consideration to our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free ½ ounce of silver. Silver was up above $26 a little while ago. I see they're trying to bring it back down. Silver at $25.96. Gold, on the other hand, it was above $2,000, but it is at $1,999.60. You can see what they're doing here as well. Look, it was above $2,000. Are the powers that be going to try to smash us down? They know if they do, they're going to be in a world of hurt. Because everybody is buying it. You want to give us a discount? Give it to us. seriously, right now is a good time. What was this? Back in 2020, that was June of 2020, it says, towards a new gold standard or a currency war with China. Oh, not just China, Russia and China. I told you people are tired of the United States weaponizing everything. This is the problem that we have with our current government. They're not good people. They haven't been. But over time, their crimes have become more and more bolder, especially with this great reset taking place. So this from June of 2020, this article goes on to talk about how China and Russia were buying up as much gold as possible. They were anticipating moving us into the gold standard. But remember when they went after Gaddafi, because Gaddafi wanted a gold dinar? He wanted to stop using the US dollar, and they killed him over it. Remember they told us he was a bad man. Yeah, that's what they tell us. He's a bad man. Isn't that what they always do? Like, hey, weapons of mass destruction. He's got weapons of mass destruction. And then you get there and you find out there's no weapons of mass destruction.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.
Ah, yes. Nothing like sitting back, laughing about a fake accusation to invade a country. Anyways, back to where we are. Gold standard. Back then, they were talking about China and Russia possibly teaming up to cause the world to go back into the gold standard. And it looks like it's being done. Russia eyes sanctions, workarounds in energy, gold, and crypto. The harsh sanctions imposed on Russia and the resulting crash of the ruble have the Kremlin scrambling to keep their country's economy running. For Putin, this means finding workarounds in a Western economic blockade, even as his forces continue to invade Ukraine. Former Treasury Department officials and sanctions experts expect Russia to try to mitigate the impact of the financial penalties by relying on energy sales and leaning on the country's reserves in gold and China's currency. Putin also is expected to move funds through smaller banks and accounts of elite families not covered by the sanctions, deal in cryptocurrencies, and rely on Russia's relationship with China. Right now, the biggest two avenues that Russia has are China energy, said former Director of Treasury Financial Intelligence and Enforcement Arms. Says here the US and EU have levied sanctions on Russia's biggest banks and its elites, frozen the assets of the country's central banks located outside the country, and excluded its financial institutions from the SWIFT bank messaging system. So again, here they are using the SWIFT system as a weapon. Now, most people out there would go, well, yeah, that's what they should do. They're bad guys. But see, that's the thing. Our media has been lying to us for so long. We don't know the truth. And it makes sense to me that they would go after Putin. If you guys remember, it was about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, when Putin said they had paid the last money owed to the Rothschilds and kicked them out of their country, and that they took over their central bank just like China. So China and Russia both have a central bank that is not actually connected to what I would call the central bank cartel. He said the greatest gift you can give the future of Russia's children is to be freed from the enslavement of the central banks. Well, you know how that goes. If you're going to try to kick out the central bank and the Rothschild family, and how dare you try to keep from being enslaved, well, then they'll just make up some stupid story, go after you, attack you, and place a new regime in there that will kowtow down to the United States and a globalist elite. Now here it says, while Russia is likely to turn closer to China to make up for lost supplies and goods and services it normally would get from the West. Now, they're not likely to turn. They've already thought about this. There's no way in how Putin would have been so bold without first speaking with Xi and arranging this ahead of time. So yeah, he knows he could turn to China for anything that he needs, because he knows China can get away with whatever they want, because just like the Ukraine, the Biden, along with a lot of other Democrats, have all kinds of investments in China. And so did a lot of hedge funds. So the last thing they're going to do is punish China as well. Yeah, that's the problem. You see, we let our nifty little politicians go ahead and invest in the countries that now when they do criminal acts like this, they won't do anything to them in fear of affecting their own investments. Or we live, who served as the head of enforcement of Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control during the Obama administration, said that overall, whether it's using cryptocurrency or relying on China, there are mitigating actions they can take, but they can't recreate the financial system. Oh, but they have. It's called SIPS. It's just like the SWIFT system. It must be ready because, again, I'm sure that Xi and Putin have spoke long before this action was taking place. The Biden administration has argued that China won't be able to make up for the loss of U.S. and European business. Sanctions cutting Russia off from the Western sovereign debt markets will be crippling. So it looks like the Biden administration is protecting China by making claims that they can't help them. Interesting. At the same time, the White House has sought to publicly make the case that Beijing coming to the rescue of Moscow could be detrimental in the long term for China's reputation in Europe and around the globe. I don't think they care. So Chris Marcus played this video not that long ago, but I love what Bill has to say. I do. I love it. Because even he tells you point blank that the media has been lying and that we are going to go to the gold standard. And this is the real reason. Let's hear what he has to say.
Trying to make some sense out of this is Bill Holter of JS Mindset, which can be found at jsmindset.com. So, Bill, I appreciate you checking in. Hope you're doing well out there today. And how's everything going with you so far?
All good, Chris. Thanks.
I guess just to dig right into it, I've heard rumors that there was one site reporting that they were suggesting it was almost a bit of a done deal, that not that Putin and Russia are thinking about going to a gold standard, but that they're, crossing the T's and dotting the lowercase I's and J's. Bill, why don't you share any thoughts you have, anything you're seeing or that people should be well served to be aware of?
Well, here's my thoughts on Russia. I think it makes total sense that they would be thinking of or on the cusp of backing the ruble with gold. Putin is not a dumb guy, and he does understand that fiat currency's Achilles heel is gold. I posted the speech that he did prior to the invasion. I think it was about a week ago. And I encourage everybody to read the entire speech. It'll take you 10 or 15 minutes to read it, but it was packed with logic. He started off by basically saying that the West is an empire of lies. And I think everybody listening to this probably understands that that's true. So if you read that, you'll understand the reasoning, NATO's expansion all along his borders. One of the interesting things that he said was that they were going to go into Ukraine and clean it up. When I say clean it up, clean up the corruption. That's been obviously the money laundering center, if you will, for the West. I mean, just look at all the offspring of big names here in the U.S. that have jobs in Ukraine. I mean, you got John Kerry, Biden, Pelosi, Romney. The point being, he has said that he's going to clean it up and go basically the route of war crimes, if you will. So that's why no matter what official source you listen to, you are going to hear Ukraine good, Russia bad. And I mean, I would just ask, if Russia had put missiles along the Canadian border or along the Mexican border in reverse, what would our response be? That's the why behind it. He's been accumulating gold for all these years. If that were announced, it wouldn't shock me if China did the same thing. And that would pretty much be the end of the Western fiat currencies. They'd have no way to compete. It would blow the shackles off of the suppression scheme on gold and silver. We're at the end when it comes to the financial system. I mean, we are mathematically at the end of the fiat Ponzi scheme. I mean, from a timing standpoint, you could see the entire financial system lock up. Mathematically, you will see that.
I mean, it's
the financial system is going to lock up. I think all monetary roads at this point are leading to gold and silver. It's the end of the lies. Truth is going to come forth, and the truth is that the financial system, it's standing on quicksand. There is no foundation. The Soviet Union was basically destroyed financially by the West, and they haven't forgotten. And they understand hard currency. That's why they've built the gold reserves.
And Bill, something I'm guessing you're probably very well familiar with. You were talking about how Russia, the people running Russia, have a better understanding of metals. I mean, here we can't even get Ross Benham seems to understand metals just fine, because what they won't acknowledge is that they tamp down the price. Again, Ross Benham, member of the Plunge Protection Team. So that means Janet Yellen was in on it. The Fed was in on it, and that Gary Gensler. While the U.S. refuses to acknowledge or even answer questions when they get caught, I remember hearing a couple of times that Russia was looking into the work of GATA with Chris Powell and Bill Murphy as early as 2004. So while the West, says, silver, it's shiny rock, no use.
Chris, they fully understand hard currency. What I'm saying is they fully understand the difference between fiat and gold, and they understand the Achilles heel to the fiats. And the Achilles heel, or the kryptonite, or whatever you want to call it, is gold, because it is 180 degrees direct competitor with the dollar. They understand that gold and silver have no liability, and that dollars and euros and yen and you name it that are issued by governments, they are the liability of that country.
Before we let you run, one last quick question. I did see a couple of notes of premiums on silver jumping. They've been moving up pretty consistently, but I heard it was Canadian silver maples had jumped again today. I know you're somewhat involved on that side. Anything you can share there in terms of silver, the premiums, availability, or anything that you've heard on that?
Yeah, the premiums have jumped on the Canadian products because you've got Canadians really wanting to get their money out of banks. I mean, and the mindset is, I want my money out, and I want it out today. So, yeah. Yes, the premiums on Canadian products have gone up. Junk silver is extremely scarce, and the premiums just went up another, I think, 35 or 40 cents today. So it is tight out there. And, I've said all along, I think this will end up being kind of a over-the-weekend type of thing where you go to bed on Friday thinking one thing, and then Monday morning, it's a whole new world. And that whole new world is more than likely going to include the unavailability of moving capital into metal, meaning inventory will be wiped out and shut down.
Well, you just answered my follow-up question. How far are we from the day where you call one of these silver dealers and say, I want this, and it's like, I can't do it.
This is why you better stock up on your gold and silver. You hear what Bill's having to say.
Sounds like
I think we're close.
Sounds like we're not there yet. Although I know a lot of products. If you call Schechtman, you're not getting your choice of like, well, I want 100 of these, 200 of those. Is that correct? Well,
right. That's correct.
Well, that's one of the reasons I really have a lot of respect for you. It's certainly been a pleasure getting to know you, especially in this past year. And you can find Bill at jsmindset.com with Jim Sinclair, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Since the start of this video, you can see already they're tampering down the price on silver. It was above 26. Look at it. Silver now 25.66. Look at that. The same with gold. Look at this. Now's the time to buy, people. It's cheap. They're doing you a favor. So Putin, good guy, bad guy? I guess it depends on whose story you want to believe and listen to. I know I don't believe anything that the media says. And if they are indeed trying to expose the fiat dollar Ponzi scheme, I hope they do. It's time for us to get back to real money, and if this is what gets us there, I'll take it. Again, I want to thank Chris Marcus. He did a good interview with Bill Holter. I only just skim through some of it, you guys can go hear the full interview on Chris's YouTube channel. I will leave the link down below. But anyways, that's it for now. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.